Hey everybody, my name is Kayla and welcome to my very first episode of Enchanted Evenings. This channel is going to be breaking down Disney movies, old and new, and discussing them. As a child, I used to watch Disney movies all the time. Legit, that was like the only thing I watched was Disney movies. You go to Toy Story, to Cinderella, to even Hunchback in Notre Dame, I was obsessed. So when I see that a new Disney movie is out now as an adult, my first reaction is, one, I have to buy my ticket, and two, who am I going to go see it with? Because I need to have a really good Disney movie discussion afterwards. I either need to go run and tell my sister, my best friend, coworker, basically anybody who will listen to me about this Disney film. And I love when they hear my opinion, but what I really love is when I get to hear their opinion. So please comment below on what your opinion is on this particular Disney movie that we are about to discuss. So without further ado, I was trying to think about which Disney movie to have my very first discussion on. And I thought to myself, if this movie was good enough for Walt Disney himself, then why not let it be good enough for me? I decided to do the first Enchanted Evening episode on Disney's first full-length animated film, which is of course Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This movie was released December 21st, 1937, and it was produced by the Walt Disney Production Company. It is based on the 1812 German fairy tale by the Grimm brothers, and it is described as a musical fantasy film. And it was also nominated for a Best Musical Score in 1938. So before we begin, I want to let you know that there are going to be spoilers in each and every one of my episodes because we're going to start from the beginning of the movie and go all the way down to the end of the movie. So if you want to go back and watch whichever movie we're going to discuss first, I absolutely encourage that. If you don't have time to do that, no worries, that is okay. I'm going to go over a summary of this video with you. So, just to get started here, the plot of the story. So jealous of Snow White's beauty, the wicked queen orders the murder of her stepdaughter, Snow White. She hires the huntsman and he says, I cannot go kill Snow White. And he warns her about what the stepmother is about to do. So Snow White goes and hides in a cottage with 7 little miners. The evil queen realizes that Snow White is unfortunately still alive for her, and she disguises herself as an old hag, and she takes an apple and she poisons it. She gives the apple to Snow White. Snow White takes the bite and then she falls to death-like sleep. Well, out in the distance, a wonderful prince hears about the beautiful princess in her sleep in her glass-like casket, and he rides up to where she is, gives her a nice little kiss, and Snow White awakens and they live happily ever after. That is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Just a short little summary of it. So let's go ahead and get started bit by bit. I'm super excited about this. Okay, so a breakdown of the movie. So the movie starts with a really good score. And you have the music started, you have a beautiful painted background, but then you have the words of like who produced the movie, who directed the movie, all up in front. And this runs for about 1 minute and 27 seconds. Now to me, that was perfectly fine. I can't remember if I was a little kid and this bothered me, like did I get bored or something like that? I'm not sure I quite remember that. It only does run for about 1 minute and 27 seconds. Watching it as an adult, the music really draws me into the story, so I get really excited. But those of you with kiddos, would your kid sit through a score for 1 minute 27 seconds without thinking, okay, let's move on from this one, this is not holding my attention at all? Please let me know, I am very interested in that. After you get to 1 minute 27 seconds, there is a beautiful white book and it opens up and words flash on your screen. So you as a viewer are reading this book. So if you can't read, you're gonna have some problems at what the setup of the story is gonna be. So basically what it says is the wicked stepmother, the queen, is jealous of Snow White's beauty. So she forces her to work as a sculling maid and makes her dress in rags. Each day, the queen asks the magic mirror, who is the fairest one of all? If he responds, the queen, then Snow White is safe. So this tells us the setup of the story, which I find, like I said, really interesting, because if you can't read, you pretty much have no idea what's going on. And then it just zooms into the castle where you see the queen. So like I said, the next part of the story is where you see the queen, and that is at 2 minutes and 26 seconds. I love the beginning of this movie because it is almost very dark and very mysterious. You don't start with a peppy, exciting start to a movie that I think we're pretty much used to animation films being made today. So I found it to be extremely exciting, and I love, as much as I love Disney, I also really love darker things as well, darker movies. And so to me, as an adult, it really intrigued me. And I'm guessing it also intrigued me as a child too, since Snow White is my favorite princess. So I'm guessing that this works really well, and I just really like the setup of it. So you walk into the queen, she's walking into her castle. It's so pretty how the animators did this, because her cape is kind of like going around her. Now, on a side note, and this just basically says how much of a dork I am, if I'm walking down the stairs or anywhere, I try to pretend I have like this big cape that follows me, and it is because of this film. So I don't know, maybe I'm just like in a dark place and I want to feel wicked for one day, I'm not sure. But you walk into the queen, and she's doing her daily routine of asking the magic mirror who is the fairest of them all. And the mirror doesn't come right out and says it. He says it in sort of a riddle, but it's very clear to the evil queen that he is talking about Snow White. So in a jealous rage, she kind of goes, Snow White. And it's very like, who? You don't want to get on her bad side. So after the queen sees this, like I said, she is very angry. And then you jump to a different scene. And this scene is very exciting because this is the very first time where we see our beautiful princess Snow White. Unfortunately for Snow White, she is, of course, dressed in rags, how the setup of the movie told us she would be, and she's outside cleaning like the castle stairs, just doing her daily chores. She's, at the wishing well, and she's just singing, doing what Snow White does. The thing with Snow White, she, as genuine and innocent, as beautiful as what she is, I think she is a little naive because, she doesn't, I'm gonna say she doesn't guess that her stepmother hates her so much. I mean, to me, if somebody hated me, loathed me in that sort of way, I would think I would know. And maybe this is just Snow White saying that she kind of just whistles while she works, cleans the steps, and doesn't even let the bad stuff face her. So maybe we all should kind of live by Snow White's way. But this is where you first see Snow White. This scene is so cute because she is finally at the wishing well singing. All this girl wants is for her true love. And I don't know if she wants this, maybe because she does realize that her life isn't so great, and she feels that if she has her true love, that he'll come in and he can rescue her and she can live a life of happiness. So maybe that is what Snow White wants. But the cutest part of the scene is that the prince from afar hears of Snow White's singing voice, and he comes over on his horse and he joins her in song. Snow White gets super embarrassed. Her cheeks start to flush up with red. And with that, a cute side note, the female animators who did Snow White took actual real makeup to make her cheeks have that redness color. So it was a legit color. It was super cute. But she was super nervous. No, Snow White, super nervous, not the animators. I mean, maybe they were, I don't know. But Snow White was nervous when she saw the prince, so she runs back up to the castle. This is such a beautiful scene because you have Snow White up here and you have the prince down here doing this whole like Romeo and Juliet thing, and I just absolutely think it's very, very beautiful. And then on the other side of the castle, you have the queen, and she opens her curtains and she's just looking down very angrily. She is not happy. She does not want Snow White to have happiness. She is mad. And I'm not going to say it's necessarily her happiness, like I just said before, so I don't even know what I'm saying. But I think she's just mad that here she is. One, this girl's younger than me, okay? Two, she's more beautiful than what I am. And now 3, she has a young man coming for her. I wonder what happened to Snow White's father? It's not discussed in this movie. It's not in the book that we open up in the setup. You don't ever hear about her father, so I don't know if he's alive, if he's not alive. They do go into it in Once Upon a Time a little bit, and it's been so long since I watched Once Upon a Time. I want to say the Evil Queen killed her father, but I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. But if we're talking about just this movie, it doesn't go into it. So I don't know what the queen's issue is here, but she really just does not like Snow White, and she's really pissed that this handsome prince has come to sing to her. So her anger is really boiling up to just a point of frustration where she can hardly take it. So you see this beautiful scene, like I said, with Snow White cleaning, she herself wishing at the wishing well. Her prince comes up and sings to her, and it's very beautiful, very moving. Every time I watch this scene, my heart kind of melts. I'm like, oh, that is like, I'm not going to say every girl's dream, but it'd be very, very romantic if a man would come sing to me at my window as I'm standing out the balcony. Just throwing that one out there. Okay, then you get to the next scene, and this is back into, I'm going to call it the Queen's Corridor. So you're back with the Queen, and then she has her faithful huntsman. And he is not excited about what the Queen wants him to do. The Queen wants him to go out and murder Snow White for her. He basically says, we cannot do this because she is the princess. The Queen basically says that you will be severely punished. Now, I'm not going to go about and say that the Queen is a murderous queen, that she's going to go murder everybody who doesn't follow her rules. But I'm thinking that wouldn't be so far off, since she's willing to kill her stepdaughter over looks. Just a thought. So I would not want to be working for the Queen personally. I would not want to be living in this kingdom. It doesn't seem very safe. Another thing that the Queen gives the huntsman is this box. It's maybe about this size. And I would say that you could definitely fit a human heart inside this box. I've never seen a human heart, nor do I want to see a human heart, but just watching different TV shows or what have you, I'm gonna guess that a human heart could fit in this box. I mean, yeah, okay. Anyways, I don't know what kind of psycho has a box for a human heart, but our evil queen, of course, does. And I'm definitely gonna say it's a heart box because it has a heart on the outside, a gold heart. It has a gold sword in the center of the heart. So it's like death to the heart with this sword, and put the heart in this box. So basically, at the end of the day, the Queen wants proof that the huntsman did kill Snow White. A woman who is as vain as the Queen is crazy, because just to kill somebody because they're more attractive than you. And also I'm gonna say, what if the Queen was more attractive than Snow White, but we're just merely going on like the mirror's opinion? Because I think the Queen is really pretty. So maybe it's just like this mirror. It's just like, oh, I think Snow White's prettier than you. She's younger. Her skin's a little bit tighter, you know. I don't know. But wouldn't that be funny? So it was just out of like one thing's, I'm not going to call him a human because he's a mirror, but one thing's, you know, opinion. Anyways. So the huntsman goes out and he's ready to kill Snow White. We are at 8 minutes and 45 seconds. And Snow White is looking so innocent as always. She's right outside of the woods. So she's not quite in there. She's just right outside where you can still see the sun and the hills. And she's picking flowers. Now, if you look at this, Snow White is no longer in rags. So I don't know if this is her day off or something, but she is in her beautiful traditional Snow White outfit with her, like, her yellow gown. Here, I'll show it to you. Ugh, hope this thing don't break, it's old. She has her yellow gown, her blue top, and her really pretty cape. This does not look like a rag outfit. This looks like a day off outfit for a princess. So I'm gonna guess that it was her day off, and that's why she's able to go out and run kind of in the fields and pick flowers. What I love about this movie, so we are 10 minutes in at this point, and we are just on this big roller coaster of emotion. You get to the very beginning of the movie where you see the darkness of the queen and basically her first intentions, to a very bright picture, Snow White cleaning, and then you have her love interest ride in and they have a really pretty moment on the balcony. Then you're back to the queen making evil plans of murder. I mean, this is the first Disney movie and it's already like so dark. And then here you are back at the Princess Snow White, and it's bright and sunny again. She's picking flowers, but all of a sudden it's gonna flip to that darkness. So like I said, we're just on a roller coaster of emotion, and we're only 10 minutes in. This is huge. I mean, if you're not captivated by this, then I don't know what's gonna grasp your attention. But to me, this is really big. You guys, the huntsman is so sweet. He just has a heart of gold. Haha, heart of gold, gold heart box. Anyways. He can't find it in his heart to murder Snow White. So he tells her kind of what's up. He says, run away, hide, never return. The queen basically wants to kill you because he doesn't want to get in trouble either. So Snow White, she is not a dumb gal. She takes off into the woods and she is hiding from her evil queen, the stepmother. This part in the movie is so terrifying, especially if you are a child or a child at heart like myself. You run into the forest and it is dark and the trees are so high up you cannot even see the light of day. And we know that it's daylight because she was just outside in the daylight. And so it's super scary, and Snow White is running and she's pushing these branches and twigs out of her way. She falls into a really disgusting pond where she thinks that it's logs in the water, but it's not. It's like alligators or crocodiles. And then she finally can get out. She's soaking wet in her nice outfit yet to boot. And there's trees with these eyes that are looking down on her, and she's screaming, she's going all around, and finally, she can't take it. And she like basically passes out. I want to give an A+ props to the animators for this, because this you know what I'm saying, was unbelievable. From fun daylight to a really scary scene. And for those of you who have been to Walt Disney World at Disney's Magic Kingdom, there used to be a ride called Snow White's Scary Adventure. Unfortunately, guys, it is no longer there. They did replace it. I'm gonna say with PhilharMagic, but I'm not 100% sure. I just know it was in that facility. PhilharMagic, awesome. I mean, please, if you go to Walt Disney World, go see the show. But I really wish they would have kept Snow White's Scary Adventure and then just added Philhar somewhere else. This ride was terrifying. I remember riding it when I was a kid, and it was so scary. And it just shows you how scary the things that Snow White had to go through before she had her happily ever after. And I don't know if this kind of like gives us a future look at our lives. You can kind of think it this way, because think how difficult it is for us to, you know, find our happy endings with our lives and things that we want to be able to fulfill. I mean, a lot of us have to go through school and have the trial of jobs, and then things happen to us personally. So I think this movie does show us that, you know, bad things happen in order to get to our end result of where we want to be. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into this a little bit deeper than what the discussion has to be, but it does show you that bad things definitely do happen, but we have to be brave enough to continue on for our journey, because if you work hard and if you believe, then good things will happen for you. So it is a really good inspirational type movie. Unfortunately for Snow White, she's in her very bad part of her movie with her stepmother wanting to murder her and her loss in these terrifying forests. Oh, and I do want to let you know, at Magic Kingdom, since Snow White's Scary Adventure is not there anymore, there is a brand new ride It's the mine ride. I don't know the full name. I don't know if that's what it could be. That's what it could be called. I think I wrote it like twice. It's fun. It's really cool. It's like a roller coaster, and you get to go through this Dwarfs mine, which is really fun. But to me, it's not as cool as the Snow White Scary Adventure. But anyways, we're not talking about Walt Disney World right now, so we can if y'all want. But right now, we're talking about the movie. So she has a panic attack. Now, this part is so cute because after Snow White basically has the last bit of her panic attack, falls to the ground, all of a sudden it's daylight and it's bright and it's beautiful, and the cutest little woodland creatures come out. You have bunnies, squirrels, chipmunk, deer, birds. They all come out to greet Snow White and basically tell her that everything is okay. And Snow White sings this cute song, With a Smile in Your Heart. And it's with a smile in your heart. It's just really adorable because she realizes that if she keeps the smile in her heart and hope alive, then she will be okay. And these animals kind of help her. I don't know if the animals see that Snow White is a nice, genuine person, but they have a really good idea for her, and they lead her to a little cottage in the middle of a forest. So what's super cute about this cottage is that Snow White gets to the cottage and she kind of like, cleans the window, and she looks in and she can tell that nobody's home. So she just invites herself in. She's like, well, nobody's here and I don't want to be outside in the forest. So she just invites herself into the cottage. And when Snow White's looking all around in the cottage, she realizes that everything's tiny. Tiny chairs, tiny table. Let's just say they have tiny countertops too, because I can't imagine, a dwarf having a tiny or tall countertop and trying to like cook on it. So we're just gonna go with that. But everything's tiny, and she goes, oh, and because she's excited, she thinks it's super cute. But what Snow White first originally thinks is that children live in this house. And then as she keeps walking around the house and she keeps observing the place, she thinks that these children are unfortunately orphans because they can't have a mother. Because in Snow White's mind, she thinks this place is so dirty. What kind of mother allows her children to be living in such a dirty home? Now, we have to remember when we think about these older Disney movies about the time period when these movies were made, such as, the prince being her rescuer, Snow White thinking that these are children living here because the place is dirty. This movie was made in 1937, and the time was different. I mean, everywhere, across the whole entire world. So, we have to look at that. And when I talk about, these older movies and things being the past, I am also, not only am I a huge Disney lover, but I'm a huge history buff. And when I watch older movies, to me, it's like the closest thing that we can get to history without actually being there, because we get to see their mindset through these films. So that's why I love watching older movies, and of course, especially these Disney ones. So Snow White is cleaning, and the animals are doing their job. They are around there. They're helping her clean. One of my absolute favorite animals is one of the turtles, because it takes him so long to get anywhere. You guys, he is like crawling in so slow, and I feel so bad for him because when Snow White does kind of scream or freak out because she sees the cuteness of the chairs, all the other animals run out and he gets like ran over like, are you kidding me? I just got in here. And this is not the only time it happens. It actually happens twice, at least what I can recall, because at one point they're trying to climb up the stairs, and he takes forever to get up those stairs. And then finally, once he's so proud of himself, he's so cute, and all the animals race downstairs and they knock him down. It's like, and it's really sad for him. But anyways, so they're all cleaning the cottage. The animals are helping him. One thing I have to say is that the animation throughout this movie is just so amazing, because I don't feel like you need a lot of dialogue with this, because you have Snow White doing her thing, you have the animals doing their thing, and yeah, Snow White is singing Whistle While You Work, but some of the time there isn't singing and you just are watching the animals clean. You watch, you know, the animals lick the plates, which I'd be fine with, but my boyfriend would be like, that's disgusting, please wash it again. Just kidding, I don't think I'd be fine with it. But you have them licking the plates, you have the cutest birds like coming in, bringing flowers, just making the place really elegant, really pretty, fresh. One of the cutest parts of this is you have like a little chipmunk who is up at the corner, and he's winding up a spider web trying to get it clean, and a spider comes up and it's all like, you know, get off my spider web. So it's so cute because you don't need a lot of dialogue. This also happens with the 7 dwarfs. Once they come into the picture, they have scenes where they don't speak a lot. It's just a lot of animation, a lot of action that's happening between them, and I really think that's genius within the Walt Disney Company to do this. It really just intrigues you and kind of gets your own imagination going as you're watching this, which I absolutely love. So you guys, we are finally at 21 minutes and 23 seconds, and we see the 7 dwarfs working. Okay, I'm just gonna say this right here. I don't know what kind of mind these dwarfs are working in, but holy moly, you guys, these gems, diamonds are beautiful. They are so big and they're so sparkly and shiny. I would, yes please, any day, anytime, get me these diamonds. These dwarfs are so cute, working super hard. They're saying that they dig, you know, all day long. And that's what they do, but they're okay because it's like they already met Snow White. They're kind of whistling while they're working. So it's super adorable. And Dopey is just so cute because he puts like the 2 diamonds in his eyes and he's like, oh, I'm Dopey, but I'm here. One thing that made me really sad as I was thinking about this, and I never did think about this as a child, was we don't have any background of the 7 dwarfs. I don't know if they are related. I don't know if they're friends, if they all met at the mine and were like, hey guys, well, you know, we work the same shift. We're tiny, let's save on some money, and let's all live in the same little cottage. I think it will work out. We don't know. I'm gonna jump back to what I said at the beginning of this was once upon a time, a little bit goes into the dwarfs, but the only thing is they only go into Grumpy. And I would have loved to see a little bit more of all the dwarfs. But again, if we're just sticking to this particular movie, it does not go in the background. It's sad, but I understand why they didn't, because if you go into 7 different backgrounds, to 7 different dwarfs, it could become extremely long, and then you're gonna maybe need a whole nother movie for that. So I understand why they didn't do it. It is time, the hi-ho. It is time for the dwarfs to go home. And I love this because they have like a song for working, they have a song for going home, they have a song for getting to work. Hi-ho, hi-ho, it's home from work we go. Honestly, when I leave work, I'm just like, ugh, get me to home. I'm hungry, I'm tired, and I just want to sit. But they are on a whole different level. They're just super excited to be leaving work and be able to come home. I love the visuals in this scene when they are coming home. It is so beautiful what the animators did. I absolutely love it. They are walking on this little log, they're walking home, and in the background you have the sunset. So you know it's the end of the day because the sun is coming down. They are walking on this log over a little river, and the cutest part is there's like this little waterfall that's like hitting like this, I'm not gonna call it a lily pad, but it's like a branch or something. It's just a really cool visual to see what time of day it is. The animators did such a good job at really bringing us viewers into whatever part of the scene we were going to. So I truly love that. Then you cut back to Snow White, and she is exhausted. Now this girl is used to cleaning, she's used to working hard, but I don't know if she just doubled down extra harder because she wanted to make a good impression, but she is exhausted, so she decides to go upstairs to take herself a little nap. And the beds are so tiny that she has to spread herself on like 4 of the little beds. Also, you guys, the beds have the dwarfs' little names, and Snow White is like, oh, what interesting names for children. I'm not 100% sure that's exactly what she said, but she did say something like that. And who puts their names on their bed? Do the dwarves get confused as to where they slept? See, we don't know much about the dwarves. I really wish we did. Why do they need their names initialed on the bed? I mean, again, maybe there really is no background story to that. Maybe it's just for us as viewers, or, you know, for Snow White. So, but again, that's something we really don't know. This movie is not a very long movie, so it's really short for the kiddos, but it does leave us with some questions. So that is something interesting to think about. But besides that, Snow White, she ends up falling asleep on 4 of the little beds. Dwarfs come home and they see that their chimney is working because it's rising with smoke. I said that really strangely. I apologize. But the chimney has smoke coming out of it and they freak out. I would too, because they look around. All 7 of them are there, so no one, you know, was sick and missed work that day. Who was at their house? And we do hear that later on that the dwarves know the queen, so they could be freaking out. Like, is it somebody who works for the queen? Is it the queen herself? They don't know. It's really scary. So I can really understand why they would be terrified that they see someone in their house. If I came home from a long day's work and the lights were on and I lived by myself, yes, I would be so scared. I really don't even think I would go in. But, you know, back in those days, they didn't really have a choice. They kind of had to, like, be brave and go in there and see who's in their house. So they sneak up to their house, and this picture is so cute. All 7 of them pop their heads into the door. It's very adorable. They're very nervous. Doc orders them to all search the whole entire house. Now, I want to say how much I love that Doc is in charge of the 7 dwarfs, all 7 of them, because he almost talks like me. It's hard for him to talk. I mean, he gets everything mixed up, but I just super love that he is in charge, and it takes him a couple seconds to get out his orders or what he wants to say, but by gosh, he gets it out. And so I think he's underrated. I think people don't appreciate Doc as much as they should, but he's a very intelligent dwarf. He has a lot going on, and I feel bad for him because he has like some sort of speech impediment, but he does get his words out, so he's very cute. I love that you can basically tell each dwarf by who they are, what they are. Basically, you see Doc, you can see Dopey as Dopey at the beginning when he puts those diamonds in his eyes. You know, but then you see Grumpy, and he sees a soup stew being cooked by Snow White, and he says it's witch's brew. So right then and there, you know, he has to be grumpy. And then a huge thing happens. Sneezy is about to sneeze. They don't know who's in their house. They don't want him to sneeze. So they take his beard and they tie it around his head, and they think they settled the matter because they don't want any noise. His sneezes are way too big. His allergies or something are way too much for him to handle. He sneezes, and everything in that room, including the dwarves themselves, go flying in every which direction. It is so funny to watch. It is so clever. It is so cute. And this is one of those scenes that I was talking to you about before, how there doesn't need to be a lot of dialogue because the dwarves are the entertainment enough. It's just so incredibly cute. They go run back outside, and then they realize, nope, we have to go inside. Of course, they make poor little Dopey go upstairs by himself. And, you know, it would be Dopey. There's always that one person in every single group that's, like, forced to do the dirty work. And, unfortunately, I don't know if it's because Dopey's kind of dopey, and I don't know if I'm pretty sure that Dopey knows which ends up, but I don't know if these dwarfs truly believe it, so they force him up there. Dopey goes upstairs, and he himself freaks out because he believes that Snow White is a monster. He runs downstairs. Now, he doesn't tell them the words, but he describes it that it is a monster. These dwarves are brave men, so they get themselves ready. They go out, say, this is our house. We have to stand for this, and we are going to take charge. They tiptoe upstairs, and they're ready. They have like their clubs out to like beat this monster to death, and they realize that it is a beautiful princess. It is Snow White herself, because she wakes up and she's, you know, And she wakes up just like every single princess does. I mean, that's how I wake up every morning, because, you know, as princesses. So it's really cute. When Snow White wakes up, the dwarfs pop their little heads like along the bed, like the edge of the bed, if you know what I'm saying, and like their little noses kind of pop up. It's a super cute moment. And then this is where Snow White first sees the dwarfs, and she's like, "My, you are children. You're 7 little men." Again, I don't know if it's exactly what she said, but it's something like that. And she, off the bat, can guess which dwarf is which. So cute. Snow White, you know, tells them her sad tale about the queen and how, you know, her stepmother wants to murder her. And she begs them for her to stay. "Please let me stay." And they do. And she says that she'll cook and clean for them. And this has to be really exciting for them, because I'm guessing they don't eat a ton, because even they have a sugar bowl and that was clean. So maybe sometimes they just take a bite of sugar for dinner. So this has to be a big deal, having a beautiful woman that's gonna come cook and clean for them. So she tells them to go downstairs and get washed up before dinner. It's so funny because the dwarfs don't want to get washed up, and first they're like, "Oh, we're good, we're clean," and then Snow White says, "Let me look at your hands," and they do, and their hands are dirty, and they listen to Snow White and they get washed up. I think that this scene is super cute and super good for children, and honestly probably some adults, that you need to wash your hands and you need to stay clean. This is one of those scenes where there's not a ton of dialogue. You just see the dwarves clean their hands, wash their face, and then you see Grumpy sitting off in the corner on like this barrel, and he is just not having it. He's very like mad that they're listening to this woman. Like, why are we changing our lives for this woman? I don't get it. They pull Grumpy into like this I don't even know, wash bin, I'm gonna call it, but it's just water, and they use soap, and they're trying to clean him. But then you have Grumpy all angry, the door's cleaning him, but then you have this whole other thing with Dopey, who can't grab onto the soap. They need the soap so bad, but Dopey can't get a handle on the soap. When I was little, I had this nightgown, I believe it was like pinkish purple, and it had Dopey on it with like the little bubbles all over. It was so cute. I still wish I had it today. So that's just a really cute scene. So they're getting washed up, they're getting ready to eat, things are looking really positive for them. Then we get to 47 minutes and 48 seconds, and we are back at the Queen. And this part of the movie is interesting because you go for a really funny scene with the dwarfs getting washed up and forcing Grumpy to get cleaned up, and then you get to where the Queen is. And you guys, this scene's not good. Definitely not good for the huntsman. Why? She finds out that what he brought back to her in this box is a pig's heart. Not good. She is livid. She is livid. And so she runs down her stairs into her dungeon. And this is where that whole cape thing again comes into play, with her cape just whooshing around her, and it's so beautiful. And this tells you how evil she is. She goes into like her little queen lair, I'm gonna call it, and it's exactly what you think a queen would have. It's dark, it's mysterious, there's these books, it's like spell books all over, they have spider webs, you have a crow in the background, you have skulls, human skulls. I'm gonna guess those skulls are real. And she has like this big cauldron, and it's very scary, but of course it's very awesome at the same time. So if you're a true like villains fan, this room is top notch. It's pretty awesome. The Queen disguises herself as a hag. This part is terrifying, okay? Terrifying. She takes a sip of her potion that she makes for herself, and from her being, I think, beautiful, as I said before, she takes a sip of this. You guys, her hands, her nice young hands, crinkle and get old. Her hair becomes gray, and her voice becomes haggard, like Fun fact, the woman who voiced the queen had to take out her dentures to make her evil voice as the hag. So it is still the same actress. So that is a super cool fun fact. But I was so scared at this part watching as a little girl. It's terrifying. But then the queen goes to one of her big spell books and she's looking through and she finally decides that she's going to do the poison apple potion for Snow White. I think she believes that this is better than death because she's in a sleep like death. So basically Snow White is stuck here. If there's an afterlife, she won't be able to move on. She's stuck in the sleep like death. So she poisoned the apple and she has this beautiful basket of red apples and she puts this apple right in the center. We are going to follow the queen as she goes into like this little canoe boat to go, I'm guessing, into the forest. I'm not 100% sure, you guys. This is again when we're raising some questions. I don't know how the queen exactly knows where Snow White is. I don't know if the magic mirror gave her some sort of tip, but the queen looks like she's pretty confident as where she knows where Snow White is going. You do see another section of the queen when she's like super evil because there's a skull that she must have had this human imprisoned and it's like trying to reach out for an empty water and she just kicks it. She's like, thirsty? And she just laughs. She thinks it's so funny. She's just so evil. It's great. She's evil great. You know, we're that point where you're just like so evil and you just hate that thing, that person so much that they just become so wonderful. That's pretty much the evil queen. At least it is for me. So it's really cool, that dynamic between the evil queen and then the niceness and the sweetness of Snow White. So we're at 52 minutes and 4 seconds and we go back to the cottage and they're having a mini party. The dwarves are dancing, Snow White sitting there clapping. It's really cute. It's like they had their little dinner and now here they are having a great time. I love how the animators did this. This is another shout out to the animators when the dwarves are playing instruments and you can see like different instruments just being played by the dwarves and how the sounds match up to them. It's so clever. And then you have the really iconic part of Snow White dancing with Sneezy and Dopey. You probably will see this scene almost anywhere, Snow White up and then you have the two dwarves dancing with her. It's just really cute. I know that this part used to be on the Spaceship Earth at Epcot. I did hear that they are going to refurbish it. I don't know if they're waiting to do refurbishments now because of, unfortunately, COVID, but it used to be there and it was really, really cool to see. I always every time I see Snow White, I get excited, period. So anyway, so you have this really pretty part. And then the dwarves are so cute. They ask her Snow White to tell them a story, which she does. And she tells them her story. Now, she doesn't go into the depressing part of her story, you guys. She goes into what she wants for her life. And of course, someday she wants her prince to come. And that's what she sings, that's what she tells them. So that's another reason why I love Snow White, because she doesn't necessarily dwell on the negativity of her life. She's just thinking about the positive and her dreams. So, and it's just a really pretty picture, and the dwarves are kind of, engaged into what she has to sing about. And the dwarves are such gentlemen that they let Snow White sleep on their beds, but they have to fight for an area. Again, another part where it's funny. You see the dwarves fighting over one pillow, and there's not any dialogue. It's just a really cute part of the movie. And then you get to the next morning. It's bright and sunny. The dwarves are ready to leave for work. And Snow White's kissing them on their forehead. And you have Dopey going around the house multiple times. So Snow White will kiss him more than once. It's really adorable. And then, but the cutest part is that you have Grumpy, who's kind of like checking himself out in the mirror, making sure he's looking good, because as much as he pretends that he doesn't care about Snow White, he does. I mean, he's grumpy, but he has a heart. Because if he didn't, then he wouldn't let her stay. He wouldn't let her sleep in his bedroom. So he does have a heart. I mean, we can be grumpy as adults and as human, but also be nice individuals. Like, I can say, oh my gosh, I've had the worst day. Nobody talked to me. but that doesn't mean I'm not going to be nice. So I'm going to say that's pretty much who Grumpy is. I feel really bad for Grumpy too, because, you know, he tells Snow White to be safe, and then he's going off to work. He runs into a tree, and then he falls into a pond. So he hurts his head, and then he's soaking wet. You guys, if I had that luck, I would be like Grumpy too. I'm pretty sure everybody would be grumpy after that. You would almost feel a fool. And then we get to the part here where the evil queen arrives, and things kind of get dark again. You see the evil queen, she is now a hag, okay? And she's walking the forest, and you have these like vultures up here, and they're swarming her. So you know that things are bad. You know something is afoot, and it's not looking good for Snow White, because she is on her way to poison Snow White. Snow White is cooking in her kitchen, and she's singing, and she's so adorable, and she's so thoughtful that she's making a special pie just for Grumpy. And we know it's for Grumpy because his name is written on top of the pie. It's very, very nice of Snow White to be doing that for him. Almost like a thank you. The queen comes to the little cottage, and they're having this conversation outside of windows. Let's pretend this is Snow White. Let's pretend this is the queen. And they're having this conversation like through the window. At first, Snow White's a little apprehensive. So we're not going to call Snow White dumb, because we know she's apprehensive of the queen. So she's not too sure she wants to allow her in. But then, you guys, the animals are trying to protect Snow White, but she doesn't realize this, so they attack the queen. And she's like, shoo, shoo, go away. After everything the animals did for this poor girl, they're just telling them to leave her. Oh, Snow White. So she brings the queen into the cottage, and she's making sure she's okay, you know. And then the queen says, I have this apple. And first Snow White's like, I'm not sure. But you guys, the queen is so clever, because she says this isn't any ordinary apple. It is a wishing apple. And as we know, Snow White is all about her dreams. And for Snow White to be able to take a bite of an apple in order to wish on something is like a dream come true for her right then and there. So unfortunately, Snow White takes a bite of this poison apple. Now, I don't know if the Grimm brothers, I'm going to say it's Grimm brothers since they're the ones who originally wrote this story, if they chose an apple because of the whole Adam and Eve and that whole apple scenario with when Eve took a bite of the apple, and then Adam taking a bite of the apple, and then them having to leave the Garden of Eden. Just a thought there. I don't know if those two kind of cross, but you know, you never know. So where I want to say it was at, okay, 1 hour and 15 minutes, Snow White takes a bite of the apple, and the queen just pronounces that I am the fairest in the land. And Snow White falls to the ground, and it's really pretty because she takes a bite, she falls to the ground, and the apple kind of rolls out of her hand. So it's, you know that things are not good for Snow White. She is officially poisoned. The dwarfs are warned by the animals that Snow White is in danger. So they follow the animals, they race after the queen. And I love this part because they're trying to hop on the deer, they're trying to move as fast as they can to go save Snow White. This part of the movie is intense. You guys, it's intense. You have the animals racing, thunderstorm is a-brewing, Snow White is down on the ground, she is out, okay? She's out, she's down. You are all kind of like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what is going to happen next? So the movie is really keeping you going. This movie is happy, intense, mad, sad, glad. It is all over the place. This short movie just has your emotions running so vividly that it's just crazy. So the dwarfs are chasing after the queen. The queen, I'm gonna say the queen's a little foolish in this because she goes up this cliff, this mountain. Now, maybe it was her only way of escaping, I don't know. But she goes up this mountain and the dwarves are catching up to her. She sees this big boulder and she tries to take a stick and wedge it underneath the boulder to like make it fall on top of the dwarves. Unfortunately for the queen, lightning strikes and the queen falls backwards onto her death. A lot of Disney movies has villains falling to their deaths. Now, I'm pretty sure for those of you who are also true Disney lovers and fans like I am, you know who these villains are, but I'm not going to say their names now. We will definitely get to those movies, but she falls to her death. I don't know if they do this because somebody falls from this height, you know that they're goners without having to show a lot of like violent things, I guess. I don't want to go too into it, but it's frightening. You know she's gone because then you have those same vultures that were following her earlier and they're swarming her body. Dwarfs go back to the cottage and they realize that they were too late, that Snow White is in her death-like sleep. They believe that Snow White is too beautiful, so they don't bury her. They keep it in her glass-like casket. This scene is really sad. I think that they are in their cottage still, and they are just basically mourning Snow White. It's a very quiet part of the movie. It really draws you into how sad and basically how they were defeated and conquered by this evil queen, that they loved Snow White and yet they could not protect her. So they take her into a forest where they keep her casket. Basically, they can't keep her in their living room. Snow White is in this casket, I want to say, for about a year. Because again, words come up on the screen, so you have to be able to read. And they say, I'm trying to see what I put here, that dwarves cannot find it in their heart to bury her. They fashioned a coffin, glass and gold, and kept a vigil at her side. The prince who had searched far and wide heard of the maiden who slept in a glass coffin. Okay, so we know that a lot of time has gone by, but this prince has heard of Snow White. So again, if you cannot read, you're going to be lost. I'm not entirely sure why they did this. I don't know if they did it because they thought it would be more beautiful to have these words written, because so much just happened and we're trying to take it all in as viewers, and it's just a lot for us emotionally. Or if this, having these words come across the screen and for us having to read it, if it just makes it easier for the story to continue moving faster. You don't see that nowadays in children's movies where they would have to read something in order to know what's going on. Now, when I read this when I was little, I could not read the words. I wasn't lost though. So it's not like to a point where like, well, I don't know what's going on anymore. You still get the gist of what's going on, but it can be a little confusing. This part is so pretty. They're in the forest and there is a beam of sunlight just coming on Snow White. The dwarves are incredibly sad. This part is so pretty because the prince comes off of his horse, and in the background is a soft play of Someday My Prince Will Come, and he kisses Snow White. Now, I don't know if he knows that by kissing Snow White, she's going to wake up, that this will break the spell, or if he's just so intrigued with her beauty, or if he remembers her from before and that he knows that he loves her. So by kissing her, he's just showing an act of love, or if he does know that this is going to break the curse. But fortunately for them, fortunately for the dwarves, fortunately for us, this does break the curse. True love's first kiss, you guys, it breaks the curse, and Snow White opens her eyes at 1 hour and 20 minutes. And this is such an exciting part of the story. This is the part that we've all waited for, right? Where the Snow White and the prince are together, the dwarves are celebrating, they're dancing, they're having so much fun. Snow White kisses each and every one of them on the forehead, and the prince and Snow White take off on his white horse. You guys, a white horse, that's pretty like, you know, our Prince Charming, white horse, and they go off and they live in a castle where they live happily ever after. This scene always captivates my heart. I'm pretty sure I'm always crying when I'm watching this, and every time I watch this part, I'm like, I need to get married in the spring, just like Snow White. I don't know. It's just one of those things that you kind of always say when you're watching a movie that pulls on your heartstrings so much. But that is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I do want to go into some fun facts here. before we end this first episode. So there was a song written in the movie that was never made into the final version. It was called Music in Your Soup. Not sure who sang that. My guess it was probably Snow White, but I wish it would have made it because I'm sure it was quite adorable and would have fit perfectly well into the story. Maybe they just thought it was going to be a little too long if they added it. Walt Disney himself actually acted out every single one of these characters so the animators knew exactly how to draw the characters. And I feel that is so cool because he definitely took initiative to, work hard and show them exactly what he had envisioned for his first animated movie. And I love the fact that he did this. Another fact was before it was completed, 750 artists drew more than 2 million sketches. The movie ultimately contained more than 250 separate pictures. That is so crazy. And I know that's how, all these animated ones were. They actually drew everything out. That had to take them so long to do. And it's just so incredible that they were able to do that, and it's just so beautiful. I think that's why we need to appreciate these movies, especially for me, especially the older ones. I love art, I love Disney art, so just knowing that these facts, and it just makes me really excited that they did that for our entertainment, and also that they love to do it. I know that they did this in The Lion King, but guys, I didn't know they did it for here. They had live animals kept in the studio, so they could kind of watch their moves and exactly how to draw them. And my last fun fact of this video was that Snow White is one of the very few Disney characters who have been honored at the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Others included Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and of course Winnie the Pooh. So everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I have to say, I had the best time rewatching this movie. I know I'm gonna have such a really good time rewatching all the other Disney movies, especially the older ones, because I don't know about you, but I tend to forget what the movies were, what the storylines were. Like, we see them when we go into the Walt Disney World parks, we see them on Disney merchandise, the characters I mean, but to actually sit down and rewatch the stories is just so great. And I'm gonna tell you, when you put these movies in, and most of them you can watch on Disney Plus, you watch these movies and it ultimately takes you back to your childhood. It is just the coolest nostalgic thing to do, especially during these days when most of us are stuck inside, unfortunately. But thank you again for watching this video. I think my next video is going to be about a more modern movie, so that will be fun to do. But everybody, I hope you enjoyed this, and please have an enchanted evening. Bye guys.